Hello and welcome aboard the Cannock Flyer. This video is for a good friend of mine and long-term subscriber. He wanted this Corgi 1120 Midland Red bus doing up in the livery of the Cannock Flyer. This bus was produced between 1961 and 1963 and sold an incredible 169,000 units in that short amount of time. This particular example, as is often the case, had something of a life and has been previously renovated. So we're going to pop it apart and see what we're working with. Not a particularly difficult dismantle, this one, because as I say, it's been previously worked on by somebody else. And there was no rivets or clips to unfasten, it just simply fell apart. Bodywork's got a couple of nasty breaks on the back windows. The interior has been painted with what I think is Dulux emulsion, so that's going to be a bit of fun trying to get stripped. Windscreen looks like it could do with the polish up. The tyres are all there, but they're a bit hard, and I think I might replace those just to make the thing look nice. So we've given her a bath in the caustic soda. As you can see, the paint's coming off fairly easily. We'll have to leave it a bit longer to get the black off. She's all nice and cleaned up and polished and ready for the repairs on the back pillars. So I'm heating it up here, trying not to heat my hands up at the same time, just to give the aluminium casting a bit of pliability before I try to manipulate it back into place with these pair of jeweler's pliers. It'll probably take a couple of goes. You've got to do it really gently because they will crack at a minute's notice. Then you've got an even bigger repair on your hands. But this one seems to be going okay so far. Managed to pinch it back into its location. Gently does it. Looks as though I may have warmed it up a little again and had another go. Nearly there, almost straightened. Just one last pinch, and hope it's not the pinch that snaps the casting off at the bottom. Yeah, I think that's pretty true enough for the age of the bus. So I'm just putting some super glue on the inside just to reinforce the joint. It's not going to be played with anymore, so it shouldn't come under any undue pressure. And just using the stick to thin the super glue out rather than stick my finger to the casting. If I had £1 for every time I could do that, I'd have a far better camera to use. And we've already popped her into primer and it's ready for the first coat of paint on the interior. Tried my best to match the Midland Red. Couldn't find a dead match for it, so this is one that I've mixed up using Tamiya Red and a little bit of brown just to darken it down a little way. Nice light coats on the interior. It'd not be seen again, but I always like to paint the insides the same as the out. There we go. I'm avoiding getting too much red paint on the top of the bus because it's got to be blacked out to match the Midland Red livery afterwards. The usual story, nice light coats, spraying at 40 psi, and we're using an Iwater Eclipse airbrush. HPBCS, I think, but don't shoot me if I've got that one wrong. Just trying to build it up nice and light there. Nice even coats. Keep it consistent. Try to get plenty on the sills because that is one place where you can tend to run a little thin with your paint without realising. Sometimes till it's too late to put. And in order to mimic the chrome strips that are all along the body here, I'm gently scraping some paint off the bodywork through to the original casting, metal with a scalpel here. Following a suggestion from a couple of my subscribers, I purchased a new scalpel with a different shape blade, rather more curved. The one that I'd previously used was quite pointed, and it was very easy to scratch a bit that you didn't want to scratch. But as you can see by the rather careful way I'm going at it, you've got to be very slow and steady, and try and keep the hand steady if you can. And as you can see, it's a very effective way of mimicking the chrome strips on the body. Just have to be careful. Nice brand new blade in every time. You don't really want to have it skid and gouge your paint after all the work that you've put in. But as she's coming out gently, you can see the aluminium casting line starting to show underneath. It's not a process that you can rush. Definitely more ice, less speed. Use a big fluffy brush to dust the bits off so you can see where you're heading. Just keep going till you've got what you want. I've used this technique a number of times now. I think you've seen me doing it on other videos. But it is very effective. Comes out really well once you've got used to it. And there we go. That's one side complete. Moving on to painting the base now. Already primed it in grey, but I'm putting on now some Motorway base coat sealer dark, my black of preference, if you like. I'm going to be doing some detail work on this afterwards, just a little work on the exhaust, highlight a few transmission parts, just to give it a bit more flavour, as the car is meant to be a gift for somebody. I'm sure they'd appreciate a bit of extra detail onto it. And just filling in the bottom there, giving myself a good ground coat to work in with the paint details afterwards. And there we go with all the bits touched up. As I say, I've highlighted some axle, suspension, a little bit of the differential there and gearbox. Just gives it a bit of an extra layer. As I say, it's a gift for someone, and I hope they like it. Polished up the axles there as well. Won't be doing any more with the wheels. Now this is a bit of fun. They definitely had used Dulux emulsion on these seats. They were an absolute nightmare to get all the flaky bits off. I've given them a coat of primer, and again I'm coming in with my Midland Red Bus mixture. I think there are about 34 seats or some such on these buses, and the colour scheme was red leatherette for the main part of the bus seat, a bit of a coloured squab, which I'll be doing later, just getting it all in on all the seats and down the gangway. It's time consuming, but I think it'll all be worth it in the finish. It's all the red laid in. I've coloured the rubber mats in up the gangway and the cubicle at the back there, which I'm pretty sure must have been the Motorway Express luggage storage. I've made these little squabs in the pattern from a vintage bus of that era. Unfortunately, autofocus has got my hand rather than the squabs, but I think you get the general position. And they're all going to get individually placed squabs. And as it says, much cursing later, she's all done. I shot it over with a coat of lacquer to help the seams and the joints blend in, and I'm pretty pleased with the outcome. Decal time now. These are all custom decals for the destination boards with the names of the family members on both sides rather than the destinations that they're going to. It's just a nice little touch. I printed these out on high gloss vinyl paper. I'm just trimming them up with the scissors, probably making it a little bit more long-winded than it needs to be, but I did just want to show the details, show the kind of work that's going in. And there we have it. There's the second one. Just lining them up nicely with the rain gutter. Pressing them down, making them nice and firm. Don't want them going anywhere afterwards. And here we go. This is the destination and the route for the Cannock flyer. I believe it's a 159 from, I don't know, Wolverhampton to Cannock, something like that. Just squaring up and making them right back into the recess on the board on the front of the bus there. These nice little decals were supplied by Black Square. They do some very nice reproduction decals. These I couldn't make myself. The printer that I've got won't print metallics, and it was a very nice bright gold on the side of the middle and recess of that red buses of that era. So that was what I wanted. So I bought these ones in, unusually. But certainly it's the first Black Square I've got. But if this is the standard they produce to, I would definitely recommend them. And nice and strong. I've had others disintegrate on me before now, but these are very well made. Just flattening it out now and soaking up the extra bits of micro sole, pushing it flat against the body. The micro sole does soften the transfers somewhat. Very helpful when you're putting it on a body with a lot of ridges in. It helps take the shape of the ridges. Prevents silvering afterwards, so you don't get the silver lines around when you're lacquering. It's an ill-advised thing to do, be pressing it with my finger, but could very well have torn it all off again. But I got away with it. Final wipe with a brush to make sure it's all nice and flat. And it's assembly time. Fairly straightforward one, this one. I've polished up the interior glass as good as I could get it. There are still a few little scrapes and dinks on it, but I couldn't get a replacement glass, unfortunately, so I've had to do the best that I can do with the one that came with the bus. In with the interior, just drops into place, nothing to secure it. It's just held in place when the base plate goes on, which in turn holds the windscreen in place. Bought some nice new tyres to pop on. These are not the usual size, they're the same size as the Corgi Land Rover, I believe. Ordered them from a very nice man on eBay. It looks pretty nice. There's another little shot of the detailing on the underneath. And it clips into place. As I say, it had already been dismantled, so I don't know how it was originally held together. But I'm going to put some Loctite on all four corners, set it off and set the glue off and touch over it afterwards. It should be nice and secure. The glue will be like a rivet for it in effect. So it's on with the super glue very carefully. Couple of drops on each end. I'll let it run down into the joint, but not onto the bodywork. Of course, you all know what's coming now. Hit it with a zip kicker. Give that a moment or two to go off. And that's the last corner done. Now for this one, I made a custom box for a bit kind of extra detail. We've called it the Cannock Flyer, and I've added my logo alongside the Corgi one. This wasn't the final design, but I had filmed this, so I thought I'd include it just to show you the process. Having trimmed all of the excess from the box, just score along the lines where the box folds, and there's some fairly heavy double-sided tape I'm using on the joint here. As you can see, it's already pre-scored. You'll see a little bit more of the tool, ball-ended tool I use for scoring it when I do the flaps where the lid closes. But that's it, folded up along the line, press it down nice and flat onto your double-sided tape. And I'm just marking now where I've got a score for the flap. There you go. All bends it up nice and neatly. One more corner to go. And there you go, there's your custom box. And here we've got the finished Cannock Flyer. It's had a new coat of paint, custom decals, nice polished up set of wheels, new tyres, personalised plates, destination board. Hope you like it, Tone. Had a lot of fun doing it for you. Do appreciate the opportunity to make this. I hope it's well received on the day and that both you and Max enjoy having it. So there's all my other subscribers, thank you very much for watching. I've been Hellboy59 and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.